Modern Male Radio with Jerod Zavistoski, right here on LA Talk Radio.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Jerod Zavistoski, and you're listening to and watching Modern Male Radio. This is all the stuff your mama should have told you and the stuff your daddy never knew. Or in today's episode, we should say all of the stuff that your granny should never told you and that your daddy never knew. As always, my co-host, Leah Pelka, is here. And we've got her friend, Beau. And then we've got special guest, Granny Potty Mouth, in the studio today. I feel like she's like she could have been like Scotty's great grandma or something, you know, like if fucking Scotty was out and he was just running around and he was like, yo, you gotta fucking do this, you gotta fucking do that. And people were like, Scotty, like, where'd you get your foul language from? He'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? This is just how people talk. This is like how I've always talked. This is how everyone in my family talks. Well, there you go. Yeah, fuck yeah.
But not this great grandmother.
Okay, so
just grandmother.
Shit.
Not yet. There's a lot of things you can do to Granny, but you cannot falsely age her.
Oh shit! Fair. I just age shamed Granny. Yeah. Fuck my life.
By a whole fucking generation.
Oh, fuck my life. Oops. So
I'm sorry.
This
by
is
a whole fucking generation.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of like. I like the sweet one, but I also like kind of like the badass.
I like the saucy one.
Like I kind of want to dress you in a leather jacket and see how you do.
It's like my future. Like,
yeah,
look at me. It's
yeah.
like me in the future because it's so me right now.
You'd be like the badass Granny. Like, can we do that someday? Can we get a leather jacket for you?
You got the
beads if you can find one big enough, I'll wear it.
Oh, come on. You are not that. Anyways, I swear to God, it's like every other word that you say around a woman, it's a minefield. It's got me stuttering over here. So when it comes to language, you've obviously kind of got a very, very unique language.
I do, and like is not part of every sentence I say 17 times. I grew up in a very different time in a very different place, and I'm eternally grateful for that, actually.
Okay, so describe the differences, because this is probably like the meat of the argument today. I brought you on to talk about what it was like during your generation and what's wrong with today's generation, and I want you to drop as many F-bombs as humanly possible.
I do that naturally if it feels right.
Okay.
Let's just say that.
If it feels right.
In the fucking moment.
In the fucking moment, if it feels right, that's the right punctuation, as opposed to like, or or you know. I just say, well, fuck, I don't know. Something like that.
Okay.
There's a lot of ambiguity to fuck. You can be like, fuck, or you can be like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, you can. It's a whole range of emotions depending on how you say it.
When do you find you use fuck the most? Cause
I'll have to think on that one.
Yeah. Like when you're frustrated, when you're happy, when you're sad, or when you want to make a fucking point. Because when it comes right down to it, like
it's a little of both.
I'm a huge advocate of the F word.
Okay.
I think it's used over. If it's overused, it becomes you become desensitized to it.
Yeah.
And it no longer has any punch. But when it comes out of me with my sweet salt and pepper curls and my sweet granny glasses and my little string that hangs them on and my pearls and all that, people just don't expect it.
Yeah.
But that's part of who I am. It is. And I've always had to suppress it. And it seems like at this point, this character that came out as a result of this acting gig I did is just sort of giving me permission to be a little shit after all.
Yeah, and so this is really, really interesting. So I want to hear the story. I'm sure our viewers want to hear the story, how this whole thing transpired. How did you go from where you were to Granny Potty Mouth? I mean, explain.
Well, it's not like I never used profanity, right? But I grew up in a small Irish Catholic family with a lot of repression, and you didn't swear because that was a sin and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
So anyway, back in November, I answered what's known as a breakdown, a request for an actress. And they wanted a sweet grandma type who would be willing to come and do this small bit for PETA, the organization about the animals, that whole stuff. And would I be happy, would it be okay with swearing? And I never saw the script until I got there. And I thought, well, fuck yeah, this will be fun.
Yeah.
And this was to make a point about instead of making a turducken, which is a chicken stuffed inside a duck, stuffed inside a turkey, you know, that whole
That's a lot of ass fucking.
That's a lot of up your ass, exactly. But they were calling this one toe fucking. because it was made
fun.
out of tofu, and it was a stuffed tofu block.
That's
nice.
disgusting. It sounds.
That doesn't sound like it goes together.
Yeah.
Ever.
Oh,
Well, it was fun, and so
Yeah.
I did it, and it was a lot of fun. It dropped on Thanksgiving Day, and I went over to some friend's house for Thanksgiving dinner with my sweetheart, and the man of the house. Later, there's a bunch of musicians, right? So after dinner, everybody all just has song circle. Well, I'm puffing myself up. I got something to contribute. And fuck yeah, I'm not a musician, but I've got some creativity to contribute. So I want you to run my thing up on your TV. And he goes, well, you drop the F-bomb, don't you? I said, yeah, and what do you drop when you're in conversation? He goes, yeah, but that's on TV and it's Thanksgiving. I said, so what the fuck?
Yeah. Fuck the FCC.
Yeah, no, but it was just that he didn't think that this was appropriate for his guests on Thanksgiving Day. Okay, right, whatever. Well, finally, somebody pushed him into it, sort of goaded him into it. And up comes the video, and some of the friends there had not seen it, and they didn't realize it was me until about a minute and a half in.
No.
And, it's all this stuff. And maybe a couple months after that, one of my friends was talking to me and said, I know you, and I know that occasionally you drop this stuff, but how could you say all that stuff? How could you just say all those syllables?
I feel like my friends would have been like, hey, that's fucking right. You know what I mean? Like, that's the generational gap, though. My friends would have applauded it. So
well, the
that's so
comments
crazy,
on this thing were like, oh my God, I want you to be my granny. You're my fucking granny forever.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I said to my girlfriend, what? I'm an actress, and when I show up, they pay me to say syllables. You got snuck and duck and luck and truck and fuck. They're syllables. Oh, and maybe my inner Granny Potty Mouth came out, and I went, oh, business brain, engage. Branding, engage. And as I told someone else, instead of calling her the Potty Mouth Granny, which is a value judgment and a descriptor, she's Granny Potty Mouth. It's like Granny Jones or Granny Yarostovsky. Did I say it right?
Zavistoski.
Zavistoski. I was damn close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just mixed up a letter at the beginning.
Yes, exactly. So
that's it.
I thought, well, hell, I might just run with this. What the heck?
Yeah, I think it's great, and there are so many examples of actors and actresses kind of falling into a role, and then that role becoming like, the definitive. This is what you were born to do.
Yeah, you got Mr. Wimple on the Charmin. The toilet paper. Are you old enough to see that?
Yeah.
And you got Clara Peller with "Where's the Beef?" Not an old enough for that. Okay.
No,
Well, this was a commercial for Wendy's, I think, and she was a little tiny woman and probably 85 when she did this commercial, and she chinned on up to the counter and she says, "Where's the beef?" And that was the thing, because this particular burger chain put out burgers with real dang beef in them.
Oh, and that's kind of funny because Wendy's just like made the headlines for horse meat being in their burgers. So
Full circle, right?
The branding is ironic there. So it's interesting. So I guess like what we get to talk about today is language, and why it matters, why censorship matters, or if it does. And I think it's really, really interesting because we like we're talking about like kind of constantly is the difference between his generation and your generation. And
I'm old enough to be your grandma. I've got a 51-year-old daughter and a 30-year-old grandson.
Okay.
And a 24-year-old grandson.
So wait, how old are you, Beau?
25.
Okay, yeah, it's still young in. So it's really, really interesting because our generation, I think one of the biggest things that we grew up with was the internet. And the internet, it forced a very, very advanced socialization. We were able to socialize kind of at a rate that compounded because it's not real socialization. You're not really out there, but suddenly you're able to see, you're able to access knowledge on an instantaneous level. You're able to interact with people at an instantaneous level. And
you're able to hide behind an anonymity that somehow gives you permission to say things that you would never say to somebody's face.
Yeah, there is that. And I think that there's also I think that there's also kind of a general there's a general feeling or a general mindset that kind of permeates the internet where it's like, okay, we've all kind of collectively moved to this issue, and then the issue becomes, we take the issue out or the issue becomes big kind of overnight. Mm-hmm. And simple things like language. are, it's like we collectively, we're no longer in very, very small pockets of religious communities that are suppressing and censoring and training people. Now we have access to anything and everything. So I think suddenly we realized how stupid it was to censor. It's like, I want to say fuck, I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. And everybody else kind of saw it. And it's like, the internet's been related to the Wild West to me several times by people that were really big on the internet. They're like, dude, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And it's like, that seems like kind of a better way to go about life than to be, kind of stuck in a censored societarical construct. I think a lot of people are socialized, especially in your generation. Not that that's a bad thing. Socialization's
well, it's not like when we were on the playground, we didn't say fuck, shit, damn, and all the rest of that. In fact, it was seriously, and it was a standing joke in my family that all the fuck, shit, dams were under the sink. Because whenever your dad had to fix something under the sink, the first time he hit something, it was fuck. And the second time he hit his head, it was damn. And the third time it was son of a bitch. And, so they all hid under the sink. You knew that's where he found them.
Yeah.
And so if you wanted one, you could go looking under the sink too. And then you could haul them out on the playground. And if somebody was mean to you or you were riding down the hill. Oh, I remember the very first time I ever tried to learn ride a bicycle. Mm-hmm. And I landed on that upright bar with the upright part of my hoo-ha. Oh, yeah.
Upright at one time.
Oh, and all I could say was, fuck! And I was like 10 years old. And, of course, no one else heard me because it was a big open field. But I felt better because I said exactly what was on my mind.
Cambridge University did a study, and they said that people who actually curse during times of being hurt or whatnot, instead of holding in, actually live longer because they're less stressed out because they actually let out how they're feeling instead of having to repress it and hold it in.
It's like, I'm in pain, I'm in pain. I'm still in fucking pain. Wait a minute. Fuck! I'm done. I'm out of pain.
Right.
Yeah, I live a pretty stress-free life, and I guess I have to attribute that to my bold usage of the F word. Kind of profuse usage of it.
I like to conjugate it into whatever I need it to be.
Yeah.
I don't like to just use it as just fuck.
Like that over there, that's fuckery.
Yeah, exactly. And like jackassery, like I like to add things into it. You know what I mean? Like I don't like to just give it. Like I want to put my je ne sais quoi on it. Like I want to make sure that people know I have my stank on it. You know what I mean? Like I want to leave them with a signature of it.
Your stank on it.
Exactly.
It's a word that can be added to in the front and the end. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there actually is a video permeating the internet that has, they literally go through all of the different definitions of the F word and why they're amazing. And it was seriously one of my favorite videos. It's like 5 minutes long. Like, I wouldn't think that you could talk about the F word for 5 minutes, but they did it.
But.
Yeah.
Well, there's a new book out called The Fuck It List. Not the bucket list, but the fuck it list.
Down.
Smart.
What can you say? Fuck it, I don't need to do that. Juice cleanse? Fuck that. No way, not me.
Yeah.
Jumping out of an airplane? I think not.
So fuck that.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. That's a really, really good concept.
I like the idea of that.
I think
it's a great idea because it almost lets you know that, you've achieved all of these things. Like, I'll never do any of these things. A list achieved. You know
list
what I mean?
achieved.
Exactly.
Check off.
You're like, I'm so accomplished. You know what I mean? Like, you have no task to complete.
It's like the Loser's Guide to Self-Development.
No, not losers. These are great decisions you've made not to do these stupid fucking things.
There you go. So it's really, really interesting because, back when I was talking about the internet and socializations and all that stuff, I think we've kind of come to a place where it's like it's just unnecessary to censor. Or do you feel differently? Like, how do you feel about censorship?
I don't know that I self-censor sometimes.
Okay.
Depending on who I'm talking to. If I understand their sensibilities. If I understand where they are with language or where they are with cursing.
Do you think that that's more of a problem with sensitivity, people being sensitive and kind of?
I think it's just being nice and respectful.
Okay.
You should be able to read a person.
Right.
Like,
I
you
have
can
some
use
friends.
it or not.
Yeah, I
If you
have
have
some
a
friends.
priest, and if you're
Yeah.
a priest, you don't need to go saying
Until one of them, until one of them, you're visiting over in Ireland, and the guy says he wants to have a feckin' pint with you.
Yeah.
And will you come with me? We'll have a feckin' pint.
Down.
And they say feckin', not fuck.
Oh, okay. So, it's interesting to me because we talk about sensitivities and all this stuff, and there's all this social justice like running around. Like it's
true.
rampant. It's like, oh, this is going to offend this person. This is going to offend this person. I think that it is fantastic that we actually have enough spare time in our lives to think about what is socially appropriate, inappropriate, because it wasn't like 100, 200 years ago, we were walking around with fucking swords, stabbing each other, going, oh, you fucking offended me. And it's crazy to think that, we've evolved so quickly as a society. I still kind of think that the internet has a lot to do with that.
And it's probably started with the telephone.
Okay.
Because now you're not face to face with somebody. Back in the Alexander Graham Bell days, back in my youth, we had party lines, and you had to pick up the phone to find out if someone else was on it, and so you didn't pick it up with profanity coming out of your mouth. And you hoped you didn't hear it when you picked it up, because those were private conversations. But once there were no more party lines, now you could speak one-on-one with someone and tell them what was on your mind, but you're still not having to look them in the face.
I don't know. The party line sounds kind of fun every now and then.
They were a great way actually to spread news in the early days.
Oh, there you go.
Because you could ring your neighbor who was 2, and you could ring your neighbor who was 17, and
Just a fun fact
and
for the
yeah.
day.
What? I've never even heard of a party line. What is
Oh,
that?
you gotta look it
up.
up.
What
like,
is
is
this
that
madness?
Paul Revere? Did Paul Revere, was he a party line guy?
I've been picking up the phone
Not
all the
only-
time. Yeah.
Not only did you not have a phone in your pocket or on your watch, but it was on the fucking wall. And the wires were strung from somewhere in the center of town, along the poles, and down the side of your house, and in through your walls to one location. One location.
I remember I've actually used a phone where you had to dial like the circular dial.
rotary
pads.
dial.
Yeah, the rotary dials.
My grandmother had one for a long time. We were from Alabama, so I mean, that's also probably part of the problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah.
Thank God I didn't have one of those.
Yeah, but like I also remember too, I think too, another thing that really changed the game was texting, because being on the phone is still pretty intimate because you're making a choice to call someone and talk to them and take part out of your day. But when you're texting, you can be driving, you can be doing whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like it's really cut off communication between people and made room for several misunderstandings too.
Big time.
Yeah.
Emojis saved the day.
It's like having carrier pigeons. You're
Right.
right. Emojis did save the day.
Yeah,
then
they're like the
emojis-
interpretive dance of text.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They tell the story that's like behind the words.
Except sometimes, if you read something that came with emojis on your phone, and this happened to me recently with a really good friend of mine and my darlings, I sent him a text, and I put a smiley face with the, but it wasn't the emoji, it was just the colon space
the old-fashioned way.
parentheses. And when he read it on his phone, it came out as a J, which is the first initial of his name, and he thought I'd just made an unpleasant comment to him, and he answered me back. Fortunately, he did. He answered me back saying, "Why did you say that?" I said, "Why did I say what?" He goes, "Why did you put a J at the end of my thing?" I said, "Oh, did you read that on your phone? Because if you did, it translated that smiley face into a J instead of the
Weird.
smiley face." So that happens too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
sent the wrong text, for sure, or autocorrect.
Autocorrect. Oh my God.
I texted my
Autocorrect.
mom the worst things. I'm just like,
That was
Mom,
not
I'm
even my
sucking
thought.
anything,
Yeah.
so
That
she's
was
like,
not even my
okay,
thought. Yeah. Not even near where I was going with it.
Yeah. So and I mean that's a big thing.
I have a question though. Because we talk a lot about dating. So she said she met her sweetheart. Like, I just am curious as to how different that was without all of the social constraints we have now, or the issues we have coming up now. So how did you guys meet, and how did you guys grow as a relationship versus what we have going on now?
Oh, what's funny is we'd been in the same music community for almost 5 years. I first heard his band leader sing a couple of songs he'd written solo without any accompaniment, and I was blown away by this guy's songwriting. Is it okay to say the guy's name, because he's a brilliant fucking songwriter? His name is John Zipperer. Like, the person who zippers up your pants is the zipperer.
He's the zipper of zippers.
Nice.
Yeah, He's the zipper of zippers.
He is
John
the one
Zipperer.
who does the zipping.
So if you find John Zipperer website, you'll find these songs.
Okay.
And so I heard this guy's songs, and I started following the band, and I would go wherever they were playing. And then it turns out that they have a house concert series as well. So I started going to the house concert series, and I was hanging out with all these people who were in this community. Mind you, I lived in Huntington Beach, and most of this community was happening in the valley.
See, it's totally my grandma. Because I've been I moved from Boston to HB, and I found my people. Anyways.
How did you know I grew up in Massachusetts?
I didn't. Scotty's from Massachusetts. Yeah.
I heard that on his accent. Fucking A.
Oh, I have.
Wicked hard, man. Wicked hard.
We gotta go get some beer and some clam chowder.
Up Kelly's. Gotta go up Kelly's.
It's been a while since I've been there. I've been out here on the West Coast for a while, hanging out with all these fucking retards. Anyway.
No. We can't. That's the only. Please, let's don't use that word.
Oh.
It's really inappropriate.
Uh-oh.
It really is.
Scotty's grandma is getting pissed off at Scotty now. I'm gonna get reprimanded.
It's a very unpleasant word, and it's derogatory.
Yeah, but I'm using it to
It doesn't matter how you're using it, boy.
meatheads.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
That sounds
It's
like-
just
boy
flat out
too, so
wrong.
you better quit.
So let's talk about
That's
words.
Southern
Okay,
With
so
your
how
ass.
about the man, right? Let's go back to the man.
Okay.
So I met. I'd been hanging out with these friends, and then this girl asked me, or this woman asked me to come to her New Year's Eve party, and I said, "Well, sure, I'd love to come to your party, but there's one condition. If you have that midnight kissy bullshit, I'm not coming. I'm not driving from Huntington Beach to North Hills for the midnight go hide in the bathroom bullshit. I'm not going to do that." She says, "No, actually, we have a whole other thing we do at midnight. We pass around the yoga bowl. They go, ooh, and everybody talks about their
The singing bowls.
The singing bowl, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They talk about their reflections on the prior year and their intentions for the coming year.
Oh, I like that.
And I thought, wow, that would be so cool. And these were all people that I felt I knew pretty well, and I wouldn't be uncomfortable talking about any of that stuff in front of them. So we had this time, and we had a wonderful potluck dinner, planned potluck, so there was nothing like all bunch of starches and nothing really good to eat, you know,
there.
all chips and nothing else. It was a lovely dinner, and then we did the bowl, and then during the talking around, this gal had said, "Well, you know, I think this is the year for me for a relationship." And I was 2 or 3 people past her, and I said, "You know, this is probably the best year I've ever had. My finances are in order, my family icicles have thawed, and my health is in order, and my life is in order, my time is great, I'm retired. I got it made. If a relationship shows up, I just hope I recognize it and am available." End of story. Go into the kitchen to help her with the dishes, and she says, "Peggy, you really should go on Match.com." And I said, "Oh, I've been there, I've done that. I've been single 18 fucking years. I've met nothing but a bunch of losers. I want no part of it again. People are fake, they're false. They put a thing up on their profile, they say they got brown hair, and then they got none."
So you were single like the entire time computers were available, though.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
literally, like the computer had been invented, and you'd been single through that entire.
Well, it had been invented long before that, but from 95 until 2008.
Yeah, like.
Oh, 2000.
Like when did computers
12,
become like
2012.
available? It was like the
Well,
late
you have to think
80s.
Y2K happened, and that was like a huge thing. It was gonna be a power surge, and we were gonna lose all
Right,
of our
but
computers.
we
That
all
was
had personal
2000.
computers as early as 1994,
Yeah.
3 or 4 at least.
It's like a year before.
Well, well before that, because I remember my grandkids moved to Australia. The youngest was born in '86, so he's 6 years old. 92, and I was sending stuff back and forth by email to Australia. So yeah, I mean, and I was using computers in 1980 for my business. But anyway, well, we have this talk in the kitchen. I say, "No, Janie, I'm not taking an active role in finding a relationship." Oh, I just said her name. Hi, Janie. I love you, Janie. I'll always love you, Janie, because you made it happen. Anyway, I said, "I'm not taking an active role in a relationship thing. If it happens, great. If not, I'm cool with that. Listen, for the first time in my life, I have complete freedom over my time, my food, my money, my decisions, everything. I've got it fucking made.
Yeah.
Why would I all of a sudden put the constraints of a relationship on me? It's like I had permission to be 25 again without any of the ramifications.
Yes.
Go 25, right?
Yeah.
So we had this conversation, and I saw this guy. This is the bass player for John Zipperer. I saw him come in and out of the kitchen a couple times looking for coffee, but it was always gone. So then he'd make another pot, and he was always kind of the guy that everybody talked about as the nicest guy ever. But I'd heard about Jimmy, and I knew this guy existed, and I didn't know his name was Jimmy. So I never put the two together, and I wasn't looking for a relationship. I go back and I sit down. It's time for everybody to have song circle, right? They're all going to pull out their guitars and they're going to play. I don't play, I don't sing, I listen. So I sit over on the corner, and I've got myself on a nice comfy ottoman, and I'm ready to listen. And here comes this hand on my shoulder from this way. And I look up.
You hear me? I'm like,
Seriously, fucking movie movement. I look up, and he looks down. He's come into the living room after getting a cup of coffee, sees me sitting at the edge of the room, thinks perhaps I feel uncomfortable or something, but he just comes to say, Happy New Year, Peggy. Well, I look up, and he looks down, and the world stopped.
that's Daddy.
And it was like liquid something or other from my toes to my nose and back again and out my fingers.
Jelly legs.
What's that?
Jelly legs.
Jelly legs, exactly. And he says he choked out Happy New Year, Peggy. And then he walked over to his seat on the other side of the room, and I sat there to myself thinking, that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. And he thought the same thing. Well, the next morning, I stayed up in the valley because I didn't want to drive home to Huntington Beach on New Year's Eve. We all joined for breakfast, and we sit at the same end of this great big long table with 20 or so people. We have a conversation, and turns out that we're talking about camping, and he doesn't like to go camping because he doesn't like the poop tank. You know, and I don't like the poop tank.
I don't like
Oh,
And
Yeah.
so you guys were
That's-
bonded
that's a
via
common
feces
thing.
or via hatred of feces.
Fecal fetish.
and he
That's
doesn't,
real. That's
and he
real
doesn't
right
have
there.
any animals, and I don't
Okay.
have any animals. I have no time in my life for animals. I could not be a good animal parent.
That's perfect.
You know, and I thought, oh, 1, 2, what's next?
That's
And
everything
I-
you need
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
And then somebody said something super funny, and he laughed. And I went, oh my God, I could listen to that laugh for the rest of my life. But I still thought, oh, well, whatever. He's a nice guy. He's pleasant. That's great. That's cool. As we're all saying goodbye outside the restaurant, he says, well, maybe we should be Facebook friends. I said, well, I must be. I'm Facebook friends with everybody. He
Facebook
goes,
official.
no,
Right.
I don't think we're Facebook friends. I said, oh, okay, well, whatever. If you want to send me a thing, whatever. And I'm booking down the 405 freeway to go
You're
home
already
to
getting
Huntington
happy
Beach.
about it.
When my phone goes, bing,
Aw.
I know, right?
thing for him.
Yes.
So then
adorable.
it took a month of we saw each other at different events. We haven't had a conversation at all. Well, about 20 days into it, I was headed off to a weekend away, and we were at a music event on a Tuesday night, and he said to me, hey, when you get where you're going, just send me a text. And I said, well, I don't have your phone number. He goes, well, I can fix that. So he
slick
gave me his
man.
phone
There we
number.
go.
But mind you, this is a guy who's the oldest of 6 children, whose father left shortly after the last one was born. And he was Mr. Responsible, Mr. Manners. His mother is a treasure, an absolute treasure, taught him manners and respect and all this stuff. So he was extending the same courtesy to me that he extended all of his friends. Let me know when you get there. I'll be thinking about you. That's what I read anyway. And so I did, and we started actually having text conversations, a morning check-in and an evening check-in.
See, texting did it.
Texting, but it wasn't sexting.
Well,
And
I mean,
then
that's
and
probably
then
a
it
good
was
thing.
a
Also does
Facebook
it, though.
message. Then it was a Facebook message, and he had an old flip phone. So he had to go through several hoops to find the Facebook message on his flip phone, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that is difficult to do. Go
Yeah.
open the browser and then
Yeah.
you have to wait for it to like dial up almost. Like this
Exactly.
dot forever.
horrible.
Exactly. So he also had to be to work very early in the morning, and I was retired. I didn't have to get up
So he's
until
a
whenever.
trooper.
Yeah, exactly. So I would have a message generally waiting for me when I woke up in the morning, and I would send him one at night when I went to bed, and he's long since asleep.
See, this is actually a really, really good
Huge.
point, because I've often said this to people when it comes to texting, when it comes to dating. A good night text and a good morning text are just about all you need to keep a relationship going in terms of
Well, it says, I'm
So
still
true.
thinking about you.
Yeah.
And if you aren't, then cut it off and don't ghost somebody. For fuck's sake, don't ghost somebody.
Yep.
That's Peggy. That's not Granny Potty Mouth right there.
That's
Okay.
a good.
I'd
I'm
had
starting
plenty
to
of
think
them.
that Peggy and Granny Potty Mouth
I
are
love
very
both
similar.
of you equally.
Yeah.
You
They
guys are so
but
cute.
wait, here's the best part. So this one morning, this one message, it was a little playful. And I thought, I'm going to see just how playful he is.
He slid in the DM.
Yeah.
So I sent him back a note and I said, I think your inner flirt has been activated. And he took
you
it
sassy
right. I mean,
kitty.
Ding ding.
and he stood up like a man to that and he said, and hasn't yours? Now, I didn't see the head shake, but I read it in the
Yeah,
words,
absolutely.
right? And hasn't yours? Not, and just think about how those words were placed. And hasn't yours? Question mark. Starting with the and. I mean, that sets
You're
the
like,
tone.
you saucy
This is like
man.
dialogue, right? This is the best movie dialogue you could come up with, is to say it right. Language matters. It really matters. And so, right then and there,
Wait,
Peggy, the business.
You know what? This is important because in the movie in the book I had we read it in our book back home, our book group. Sorry, we read the Christian Grey novels, and they actually sent out an email series was part of the novels. So it must do something to a
It was
female.
actually before the novels.
But it must do something to us because it's like to have that in there and that book just have so many women go crazy. Like it must be something that we all love.
I've actually broken this down, and it will be coming out in a future book. But it's the science of how to pivot and charm can be applied to seduction as well when it comes to interacting with people. So it's always you're always going to use a response that's based off of the other person's response. So like you were talking about with where you would say, "Oh yeah, I think you've activated my inner flirt." Well, and hasn't yours? I'm always playing with you based solely off what you're saying. So I'm not bringing up new subject matter. I'm always going to play with your words and kind of twist them around to instigate, so to speak. I have a whole bunch of stuff on this. You look forward to that,
to
guys.
instigate a female's emotions.
To effectively charm and flirt over text messages.
And it worked though. It worked for you.
It worked. Well, it's not that so much as the fact that he initiated. This is the first time in my entire dating life that I did not initiate communication, and I did not initiate each time. He initiated, I answered. He initiated, I answered. When I saw that he was going to continue to initiate, I felt comfortable initiating.
So you were nervous before you felt comfortable?
No, I did not want to set myself up for heartache.
Yeah.
I was
understand.
protecting myself.
That's every woman. Every woman, like, will
I
act
think it's
tough. 'Cause we don't wanna
everybody.
get hurt.
I really think it's everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't, guys as well. I think, and men go about it in a different way, where women will shut down and completely just be like, I'm not going to be a part of the dating world because I don't want to get hurt. Guys will go out and kind of marginalize and make women, more of a recreational activity than something that they're going to get deeply connected to because they're afraid of being in a relationship or getting hurt again. I know a lot of guys who are like textbook players. Yeah. And when I actually sat down and talked with them about why, it was like, they were like, I totally fell in love with a girl and she just fucking broke my heart and I'm never letting that happen to myself again. And I was like, damn. And he's like, yeah, I'm honest with girls. Like, I'm not a complete piece of shit, but I only ever wanted at face value.
You can be honest with a girl and not be a complete piece of shit, and she can misread it, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Particularly if your behavior is affectionate. And it's as simple as putting your hand at the small of her back as you walk up the stairs. That's affection.
Yeah.
That's caring.
True.
That's
true.
That's an assertive move. So anyway, here we are, right? And the tit and the tat has happened.
I think I like that. I'm going to steal that.
I think your inner flirt has been activated and hasn't yours. So I answered back in businesswoman mode. And I said, okay, then let's get together and talk about this. Because if it's going to work, let's go for it. If it's not going to work, let's cut it off there and be great buddies for the rest of our time. Mm-hmm. So we set up a meeting that was exactly a month after the first night. It was January 31st, and we'd met on New Year's Eve, December 31st. We met halfway between where he worked and where I lived, because I was going to something up in Altadena, and that was close. And now I'm nervous.
Aww.
Now I'm nervous because that's going to go on the table. And I just decided that I would be me.
Yeah.
And I said, he says, so you called this meeting? I said, yes, I did. And these are the things that have always been a problem in a relationship with me before, at the stage of my life. I'm smart, I'm independent, and I'm fat. And he says, well, why wouldn't somebody want a smart woman? You don't want a dumbass. And then he said, why would someone want someone who's going to hang on to him? Independent is good.
Yeah.
And what the hell does fat have to do with your heart? And I went, jelly legs, right?
Yep.
And I said, okay, so what are your issues? And he goes, well, I'm still working and you're retired. And I said, yeah, and I'm independent. And he said, I don't have the money to pursue a relationship. And I said, okay, I'm independent, but let me ask you this question. Can you take care of yourself? He goes, yeah, I can take care of myself. I said, well, I can't take care of two. But if you can take care of yourself and I can take care of myself, this is how I do when I go out with friends. If I invite, I pay. If they invite, they pay. If I say, let's do something, we go Dutch. He goes, yeah, I can live with that. And he says, but I got a big one. And I says, really? You got a big one? And I went, really stupid. I mean, that was so
That's
wrong.
some shit you would say.
But I did it anyway.
like,
But you have to enjoy moments like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
I had to put the levity in it, you
Because
know?
even if it doesn't work out, you at least gotta have fun with it. You know.
And you're going to have a great story.
Exactly.
I said, you got a big one, huh? And I kind of looked back, and he says, yeah, I'm a musician. And I said, and what the fuck is wrong with that?
Right,
You know that
right.
I'm this crazy music fan. He goes, oh, well, there's more to being a musician than just the shows.
Be like, don't tell me it's the women.
No. It's
You're
not.
done.
It's not that. It's gear, and it's hours of practice, and it's rehearsals, and it's missed things with you because I've got a rehearsal or a gig. I said, so we go back to that I'm independent shit, right? That work for you? And that was 4 years ago, January 31st.
Well, it's really, really interesting. You brought up a couple really good points, and I wanted to, I didn't
I'll
want to
shut
cut
up
you
for a
off.
bit. Go for it.
One of them is the whole not being able to support each other kind of thing. Now, at Modern Male, we do encourage men to go out and be more driven, and kind of women do want to feel taken care of a lot of the time, but we're kind of moving out of that society, and I think that with women being more independent and women's rights and all this stuff, and then women kind of fighting to equalize pay and to actually like be able to kind of do their own stuff, like it's available, that opportunity is there. I think less women expect to be taken care of, and even though it might feel a little good, there is now the men taking care of women in order to kind of like I'll take care of you, but you got to put up with my shit. And that was a big thing for a long time, was women were kind of like, expected to be malleable in a relationship. If a man had money, they would just kind of be, they would get into the relationship and he would take care of her and she would put up with his complete,
Well, and they may have
lack
been
of refinement.
victim-type women to begin with.
Yeah, which is definitely, that's its own thing entirely.
That's your whole choosing mechanism really fucked up.
I've had so many people ask me why I don't talk about that on the show. And I'm like, this is a show about men's dating, not a show about, the battered women's shelter of America.
No, I don't mean battered. I mean victims in their own head.
Yeah, certainly. And a lot of the...
my last boyfriend this, and my last boyfriend that, and my other boyfriend something else. And
well, there's definitely a spectrum there, but I mean, there is being an actual victim, but there's also being the type of person that perpetuates a victimized relationship.
Right.
And that happens, but you often find that you don't often find that when somebody's a victim and they're a strong, independent person, they're kind of like, yeah, fuck that. It's never going to happen to me again.
Yeah.
They stand up like, okay, motherfucker, like you got me. Guess what?
Right, yeah. I'm
But
out. Yeah.
when you find people that are in victim relationships, they're kind of naturally geared toward being in that, or their mental state is already kind of in that headspace where they're like, poor me, and why is this happening to me? And they're kind of always looking at the world going, why is this
But there are also
happening?
people that create the drama too. I feel like
Yes.
there are also people who
Yeah,
make
there's
drama
that.
that's unnecessary, because they'll like they're the kind of people that pick at something and make it a sore and then make it gangrene, and then they have to cut off their foot.
And then they're
It's
like,
it was
everybody look at my
nothing.
sore.
Yeah,
Everybody,
it was nothing. You know what I mean? And like now you perpetuate this huge entire problem, involve people. It gets crazy after a while,
Yeah.
which is sad because it's like an attention thing. So it's like this whole encompassing problem.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens with the few
And you
people.
sure see that on the social media that you were talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
oh, I got this
Yeah.
problem this week, and I got that
Right.
problem
well,
last week.
and now you can block people, which is so awesome, or just unfollow
Yeah,
them.
just unfollow the people that like you don't like. Even if cussing comes a lot about, it's just like you just unfollow them and you dodge the whole problem.
I have
right
noticed
there.
that swearing in video and in person carries much. I would say it's much nicer and it's much funnier than it is when it's just being like when somebody's just cussing up a storm in an article. Unless they're doing it in a very creative, cute way,
Yeah.
it just sounds crass and it just sounds kind of ignorant. And you're
I
like,
can say what I do appreciate about like our generation. What I can say is like my mom and stuff, they're very reserved. They very much try not to say anything. What I do appreciate about our generation is we do say it when we feel like it. And it's so raw and real, and
Yeah.
it's nice sometimes. It lets you know you can trust that person a little bit more because they're being honest in front of you and they're not
Yeah.
guarding
It's a
themselves so
stress
much to
reliever.
where you're like,
well, since
are
when is
you?
it not
You know what I
okay
mean?
to be a human being?
right.
It's like if we all kind of consistently have these things, you're going to spend a lifetime trying to refine yourself into something other than what you were.
Right.
And that's a huge question with self-development, because we talk about self-development. Our last episode was really heavily on self-development and metaphysics and all the spiritual journey stuff. And when it comes down to it, there is a very, very big kind of shift where it's like we were talking about the one side of self-development that's very go with the flow and kind of feel it out and, you know, get in your energy, your vibrational pocket. And there's another kind of self-development that's like goal, smash, you know, kill it, conquer, do this, do that.
Right.
And it's very about, I want to be more like this. So I'm going to put this thing out and I'm going to, you know, I'm going to master this program and I'm going to beat, you know, it's like Tony Robbins versus Esther Hicks. And that's true with society as well. It's true with like how human beings are and how we you know, we censor ourselves because we're not sure which side of the road we want to be on, and
Right.
we end up staying in this kind of like bubble of censorship where we're never actually truly fully realizing who we are. And what I've also noticed is in something as simple as refining the way you speak, let's say for me personally, like cutting out the F word, I noticed that it negated a lot of the power that I had behind my opinions. So when I would go and do an interview, I wasn't as confident or as, you know, strong in my opinions. I realized I was less attractive to women, that when I would go out, because I was so concerned with how I could be taken or how I should present myself in whatever environment, red carpet event it was, because I didn't know if I should just be Jerod. Jerod is kind of a
So
charming.
you thought that like a female wouldn't want to hear fuck? Because sometimes when I hear a guy say like, what the fuck? I'm like, what the fuck?
I wasn't.
You know what I mean?
I wasn't as concerned with what women thought as I was concerned with what like kind of like the general public thought, because
Yeah.
I was.
Right.
I built a brand and I'm going out and I'm
You don't
presenting my
abuse
brand for the
yourself.
first
I see.
time,
Yeah.
and I don't know how I should interact with people. And I realized that I debased a lot of the integrity and the, you know, the kind of the strength and purpose of my brand, which is funny because the cover of my book is a picture of me in a suit, and everybody goes,
Right.
oh wow, I thought this was like a GQ guide, and they open it up and it's just F-bombs and funny pictures and just horrible illustrations of and I mean horrible, like they're really great illustrations of like just asinine shit that guys do. So you know, I was watching a Gary Vaynerchuk video the other day, and he is fucking fantastic, and all he does is drop F-bombs just left and right. Just, you know what, fucking do this. And one of the things that he said that I've never heard anybody say that I felt really like a connection with was, he goes, I don't fucking read. He goes, stop fucking reading. He goes, stop reading all these books and not taking action. And I know so many people in self-development that they'll get stuck, and I've gotten stuck here, where they're like, how should I be? How should I be? Is this the way?
Have I done this step yet?
Right.
Yeah.
If I haven't done this step, I can't do that step.
And he's like, just get out there and take action. He's like, fuck it, do it, fail. And I'm like, God damn, this is great. This is awesome. So how does that translate to, like, did you have to go through any of that when you suddenly were putting this crass, like, you know, like you said, you were an actress, classically trained actress, and suddenly you had to go from, you know, kind of like maybe it was closer to the real you, but you had to put that out there. Like, did that give you any trepidation?
No, not at all. The toughest thing was to do it with the sweetness, because when I say these words, typically they're just they're part of my regular fucking conversation.
Yeah.
But when Granny Potty Mouth says them, they're part of her fucking conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I have to be careful. It's almost like a character or an accent or dialect that I have to get into if I want Granny Potty Mouth to be believed, as opposed to if I want Peggy Glenn to be believed, or if I want Granny Potty Mouth to be believed. And
I think both are equally as good.
I'm beautiful. I may be chubby, but I'm beautiful.
She's like, either
and
way,
I'm smart
great.
and I'm independent and I have the love of my life.
I think watching anybody kind of like, unapologetically being them and being true to whatever they feel, say, want, desire. I think
sexy.
that in itself is just awesome. And it's sexy, it's attractive, it's beautiful, it's just awe-inspiring. And that's a lot of times that's why like people talk a lot of shit about Kanye or whoever is making headlines. But the reason that those people kind of get up there is because they're unapologetically just and whether it is verbal diarrhea or not, whether they do make sense or not, they are unapologetically throwing it out there, and that's braver than a lot of people are going to be.
Unless they're high or something.
Well,
you got Tom Cruise jumping on the couch, and you got
true.
Kanye's rent on Ellen just the other day.
Well, it's interesting.
What the fuck was that about?
Well, that's really, really interesting that you bring that up with Tom Cruise, because when Tom Cruise was there. So I watched this documentary on Scientology and kind of how Tom Cruise was in that and all this stuff, and how they kind of controlled his life. And when you kind of see that he was constantly like under somebody's thumb, and he was always very, very concerned about how he was in public and who he was and all this stuff, that was actually like the manifestation of him going a little insane, because he was so worried about being true and authentic, or his authentic self getting outed by the church. So it's very, very interesting to think that long term could be how a person ends up if they're constantly censoring themselves out of fear of what people think.
Well, one of the interesting things for me has been to read all the comments, and I've tried to read all the comments on every one of the videos, on every thread where it appears. The PETA came out with PETA and PETA 2, which is the younger ones, both on Facebook and on YouTube, and then my own Granny Potty Mouth channel. And there's almost overwhelmingly the reaction is I want you to be my granny.
Yeah.
And so I welcome everybody to the family. I'd love to have 100 million grandkids. I really would. I only have 2, and none of them have had babies yet. So, I'll just have. You can be my grandson. You can be my grandkid.
That'd be perfect. I have two
even
two
you.
daughters.
You can be my grandson too. You're a little old, but you're not 25, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm 29.
I'm
Well,
30.
That makes the math really tight for me and my daughter with our childbearing.
Oh.
Yeah,
What?
we ain't from Alabama.
I am. Hey,
What?
girl, but I have 2 kids, so it's all good. So
Yeah,
she's
anyway,
right, though.
she
She's right,
already got
though,
'em.
because I have 2 kids.
Anyway, what was I
already got
saying?
'em.
So, overwhelmingly, it's very positive. But every now and then, there's someone who either wants me to use more fucks, or they want me to be more proper. One lady wrote, I'm just so overwhelmed by what you say. Down here in the Deep South, we just don't talk like that. And I thought
But it's
to
because
myself,
you've been socialized.
when was the last time you watched fucking fried green tomatoes?
Yeah.
Hello? You guys have been doing that? Y'all have been doing that forever.
Well, listen,
You've just been doing it behind closed doors,
It's
not
true,
out.
exactly.
I like the southern accent with this. I'm not. I think maybe
That's
Granny
like a
Potty
Georgia.
Mouth.
Oh, she's going to come back
South
at them
Georgia.
people one of these days. Don't you know it?
I think that this is a winner. I think that if you maybe a little infused there. Maybe you should do like different geographic regions. Like you could do one from Boston, and then you could do one from
Go Sox!
yeah, something like that. Maybe
They're
maybe.
playing today.
Are they?
Anybody get the score?
No.
Anyway.
No, I was watching.
Sorry. Red Sox is in my DNA. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I've heard that if you aren't a Sox fan in Boston, it's just like get out. But
Well, I have a really sweet story about that. Do you have time?
no, we do not.
Okay. Another time.
We do have to wrap this up. But
Oh, dang.
What I do want is
damn.
I want one thing from you,
fuck.
or I want you to tell today's youth or today's men of America, what they should stop doing, what they could be doing differently when it comes to love or treating women or whatever it is?
The number one is respect. You
Okay.
have to have really strong self-respect
Mhm.
before you can ever have respect for anybody else. And you know, one of the things that really helps you with your own self-respect is something as fucking old-fashioned as Toastmasters. You would be surprised what running through the first 10 speeches in a Toastmasters program would do for your confidence and your self-respect and your vocabulary
Yep.
and your ability to talk.
I've done Toastmasters and acting classes. I would second that.
Acting classes are awesome. As long as you know, one of my favorite casting directors is Danielle Eskenazi. She does really high-profile commercials. And she says, bring your DNA into the room, not what you think we want.
Yeah.
We want to find the person for our commercial that is exactly the DNA we want. And you need to bring you, not somebody else.
Yeah.
So you need to bring you to the relationship, not somebody else. Not the guy you think is cooler than you.
Not the representative.
Yeah.
No.
Kill that
and-
motherfucker.
Kill the representative.
Yeah, and just be as nice to, this is so fucking old-fashioned. But you need to be as nice to the people around you as you would be to your grandma.
Yeah.
You know,
Always.
because
Love my
that vibe is what is so fucking sexy.
Kindness.
I told you, this man came to say, he asked me to let him know when I got there. That was just so warming.
Text me when you
I
get
always
home.
do that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's important.
and it's and acknowledge that text, or say, I'm gonna be asleep, but at least I'll know when I wake up in the morning.
Send an emoji heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, something. I think that just straight communication and full-on respect.
I agree. I think that's great advice. So where can people find you? What have you got going on? What would you like to promote?
I got a Twitter account.
Okay.
It's Granny Potty Mouth with an F at the end
That's
instead
right.
of TH.
I found that. I was disturbed.
Because of the fucking character limits. What's with that?
Uh,
So instead of Grand Potty Mouth, I went with Granny Potty Mouth
It's cute.
I like it.
and
Okay.
hoped it wasn't an ethnic slur.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
But you know,
I don't think
could-
it was until just now.
you know, when you think about it, it's how a lot of kids first say th, little
Yeah.
kids.
Okay.
So that's what I went with that. And I have a Facebook page, Granny Potty Mouth, with a
Okay.
th, and a YouTube channel,
Okay.
Granny Potty Mouth,
Yeah.
and that's probably enough for now. I have my own professional website as an actress and Granny Potty Mouth clips on it, but not a separate page.
I
for
can't
her
wait
yet.
to write an article and have you read it. It's gonna be epic.
Oh,
Like
I'm
out
an-
loud to the do a camera video because like some of the articles that I've just come up with, I'm like I can envision you saying it to the youth of today, and I'm like yes.
Oh,
Slam dunk.
I
We need
did
you in
that.
our team.
I did that for this company called Thug Notes.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Great stuff. I did a piece for them, and it's on my website.
Nice.
And,
Fantastic.
And I think the clip is also part of the Granny Potty Mouth channel.
Okay.
Just one of several elders who talk gangsta fuck talk.
Nice. I agree with that. Yeah. How to be a real OG. I was watching this video on
OG,
Crips.
original gangster.
From
OG, original gangster.
I
I'm
got
getting
you,
learning.
Grandma.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Got you,
learning
Grandma.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting some learning. So and that's a really interesting thing because I think the human brain only has the capacity to hold so many things, and a lot of what's wrong with today's youth is that there's so much out there. There's so many acronyms. There's so much innovation going on within language and within arts and within social media that it's almost like they forget anything that is unnecessary.
Yeah.
So and that's
hard
where
to
you
find
kind of
yourself.
yeah, that's where you get into that lack of like refinement in today's youth, or that those lack of manners or certain things that they get by without. But we're over time, so
So damn much fun.
you can find her at Leah Pelka, and where can people find you?
On my Instagram or my Facebook, Beau Thomason.
Beau Thomason.
Beau Thomason, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
EAU.
BEAU.
We will certainly the Modern Male Movement will certainly be putting out some very very loving wisdom with Granny Potty Mouth here.
Can I come
in the
back
future.
again?
Of course.
Yes, we'd love to have you
We
back.
would love to have you. Yeah.
All right, that's it for tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Modern Male Radio.
You're listening to Modern Male Radio with Jerod Zavistoski, right here on LA Talk Radio.